I stared at my 6-year-old granddaughter, Sherry, and my heart stopped. Her beautiful, waist-length golden curls were gone. In their place, a jagged, buzzed scalp, nicked in places by a careless hand. My daughter-in-law, Sharon, stood over her with a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. "Now you two match," she whispered. Her voice dripped with a malice I hadn't wanted to see until now. "Since you're so proud of being a cancer survivor, Tina, I thought Sherry should show some solidarity. I've fought stage 3 breast cancer for 2 years. I endured the stares. I endured the hair loss. I kept my head high. But using my innocent grandchild to mock my struggle, that was the final line. Sharon thought she was stripping me of my dignity. She didn't realize she just stripped herself out of my will. And my life. Forever. Life in Naples, Florida, was supposed to be our happily ever after. Billy and I worked 40 years for this. 40 years of early mornings, late nights, and saving every penny. We finally had the house with the wraparound porch. The garden I always wanted. The quiet, but peace is a fragile thing, isn't it? We have one son, Lenny, our only child. In our eyes, he was the golden boy. Athletic, smart. The kind of son who makes you proud at every PTA meeting. But then, he met Sharon. I remember the first time he brought her home for Sunday dinner. She was beautiful, polished. But she didn't look at Lenny the way a woman in love looks at a man. She looked at our house the way a realtor looks at a commission. I told myself I was being a judgmental mother-in-law. I told myself to be quiet, to be welcoming. Billy told me I was overthinking it. "She makes him happy, Tina," he'd say while pruning the hibiscus. Maybe he was right for a while, but Sharon had a way of making every conversation about the future. Not her future, ours. She'd sit at my kitchen island, sipping the expensive wine she always insisted we buy. "This is such a big house for just 2 people," she'd say. She'd run her fingers over the granite countertops. "Must be a lot of work to maintain at your age." At my age, I was 62, I wasn't elderly, I was active, but Sharon talked to me like I was a ticking clock. Everything was a subtle dig. "Oh, Tina, I love that dress. It's so vintage. It's brave how you don't worry about staying trendy. You look old. It's so smart how you and Billy kept this property in your own names. Most people your age start moving things into a trust, to avoid the mess later. When are you going to give us the deed?" I tried to ignore it for Lenny's sake. He worshipped her. Whatever Sharon wanted, Lenny provided. If she wanted a new SUV, Lenny took out a loan. If she wanted a vacation to Chalum, Lenny put it on a credit card. They were living a life they couldn't afford. And I knew they were looking at our retirement fund as their safety net. One afternoon, we were sitting in the backyard. Sherry, our granddaughter, was playing with the sprinkler. She was 4 then, full of life. The light of my world. Sharon leaned over to me. "Tina, you should really think about downsizing. You could give Lenny his inheritance now while he's young enough to enjoy it." I looked at her. I felt a chill, even in the Florida heat. "Sharon," I said firmly, "Billy and I are still using that inheritance. It's called our retirement." She didn't get angry, she just smiled. That cold, thin smile. "Of course," she said, "I just worry. Health is so unpredictable." 2 months later, she was right. I found the lump. Everything changed. The foundation of sand I had built my family on started to wash away. Suddenly, I wasn't just the mother-in-law with the big house. I was a patient, I was vulnerable. And Sharon? She didn't see a sick family member, she saw an opportunity. She started showing up more often, but she wasn't bringing soup. She wasn't offering to clean, she was asking where we kept the important papers. "Just in case, Tina, we need to be prepared." I watched Lenny, my son, he looked exhausted. Caught between a mother fighting for her life and a wife fighting for a paycheck. He wouldn't look me in the eye, he started agreeing with her. "Maybe Sharon's right, Mom, we should look at the estate plan." My own son. "It's a lonely feeling, realizing your child is being coached to see you as a bank account." But I stayed quiet. I had to focus on the chemo. I had to focus on surviving. I thought I knew how low Sharon would go. I thought it was just about the money. I was wrong. It wasn't just about greed, it was about power. She wanted to break me. She wanted to show me that in this family, she was the one in control. And she chose the most cruel, heartless way to prove it. She used Sherry, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Back then, I was just a woman trying to keep her hair, trying to stay alive for my granddaughter. I didn't know that the woman my son married was a predator, waiting for the right moment to strike, waiting for me to be weak enough. The storm was coming, and I was standing on sand, The doctor's office was too cold. It smelled like lemon cleaner and bad news. Billy held my hand so tight his knuckles were white. Infiltrating ductal carcinoma. The words sounded like a foreign language, but I knew what they meant. Cancer, stage 3. My world didn't crash, it just stopped. I looked at Billy. He didn't cry, he just nodded at the doctor and asked for a pen. He started taking notes. Treatments, radiation, chemotherapy. He was my rock, but even rocks can crack under that kind of weight. We called Lenny that night. I expected him to rush over. I expected my son to hold me. Instead, I got Sharon on speakerphone. "Oh, Tina, that's just heavy," she said. She sounded like she was reading a grocery list. No tears, no "I'm so sorry," just questions. "What's the survival rate for someone your age?" Billy flinched. "She's going to be fine, Sharon," he snapped, but Sharon wasn't done. "We need to be practical. Lenny is a wreck, he can't handle this stress." Lenny didn't say a word in the background. He was silent, like a ghost in his own house. The next week, the help started. Sharon began showing up at our house every morning. She didn't bring meals, she brought folders. "I'm just here to help with the paperwork," she'd say. She wanted to see the medical bills. She wanted to see the insurance coverage. One afternoon, I caught her in my home office. She was going through my filing cabinet, my heart hammered in my chest. "Sharon, what are you doing?" She didn't even look guilty. She just closed the drawer. "I'm looking for your power of attorney documents, Tina." "Why?" I asked. "In case you lose capacity. The chemo can cause brain fog. You might not be able to manage the bank accounts." I wasn't even sick yet. I hadn't started the first round of drugs, but she was already trying to lock the vault. "I'm fine, Sharon. Billy handles the accounts." She let out a short, sharp laugh. "Billy is 70, Tina. He's overwhelmed. Lenny and I are younger. We should be the ones on the title of the house." The audacity, it made me feel small. It made me feel like I was already dead. Then came the hair. To a woman, her hair is her crown. I spent years taking care of mine. Thick, silver. My pride, 10 days after the first treatment, it started. I woke up and saw a clump on my pillow. I brushed it, and a handful came out. I sat on the edge of the tub and cried. Billy came in. He didn't say a word. He just picked up the clippers. "We'll do it together, Tina," he whispered. He shaved my head right there in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize myself. I looked fragile, old. That evening, Sharon and Lenny came over with Sherry. Little Sherry ran to me. She saw my head. She didn't pull away. She touched my scalp with her tiny fingers. "You look like a superhero, Grandma," she whispered. I felt a spark of hope. But then I saw Sharon. She was standing in the doorway. She wasn't looking at my face. She was looking at my bald head with a look of disgust. No, it was worse than disgust. It was victory. "Well, that's quite a look," Sharon said. She didn't even try to hide the smirk. "I guess the aging gracefully plan went out the window, huh?" Lenny looked at the floor. He wouldn't look at me. "Sharon, stop," he mumbled, but he didn't make her leave. He didn't defend me. He just sat there while his wife mocked his dying mother. Sharon leaned in close to me later that night. Billy was in the kitchen. "You look pathetic, Tina," she hissed. I gasped. "Everyone feels sorry for you now. But pity doesn't pay the bills." She tapped my vanity table. "This house belongs to people who can actually take care of it, not someone who can't even keep their hair." I realized then this wasn't about helping. She was scouting the territory. She was waiting for me to get weaker. She thought I was a wounded animal. She thought she could just walk in and take what Billy and I built. I looked at my son, my golden boy. He was watching her. He saw the way she treated me. And he did nothing. I felt the first stirrings of a different kind of strength. Not the strength to fight cancer. The strength to protect my life. I realized I wasn't just fighting for my health anymore. I was fighting a war inside my own family. And Sharon? She had no idea who she was dealing with. I might be bald, I might be sick, but I am not finished. The next day I made a phone call, not to a doctor, to a lawyer. Sherry is 6. She is the only person who doesn't look at me with pity. When I first came home from the hospital, I was terrified. I didn't want her to see me. I wore a thick wool hat, even in the Florida humidity. I didn't want to scare her, but children see through everything, don't they? She walked into the living room and sat on my lap. She reached up and pulled the hat off. I froze, my eyes filled with tears. "Grandma, you're shiny," she whispered. She didn't scream, she didn't run away like Sharon did. She just touched my bare head with her soft, warm hand. "It's my warrior crown, Sherry," I told her. My voice was shaking. The doctors had to take my hair to kill the bad cells. She nodded solemnly. Then I want to be a warrior too. That's when I knew I wasn't just fighting for my life, I was fighting to see her grow up. Billy and I spent every Saturday with her. Sharon was always too busy. She was always at the spa, or shopping for clothes she couldn't afford. Lenny was working overtime, trying to pay for Sharon's taste in jewelry. So Sherry was with us. We'd sit on the porch in Naples, I'd teach her how to plant marigolds. Dig a small hole, Sherry, just deep enough for the roots. She'd get dirt under her fingernails. She didn't care. She'd look up at me and grin. Grandma, when I grow up, I want to have a garden just like yours. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Would I be there to see it? I'd hold her close and breathe in the scent of her hair. She had these beautiful, golden curls. They reached all the way down to her waist. I spent hours brushing them. Princess hair, she called it. One afternoon, while Billy was napping, Sherry sat at my feet. Grandma, is Mommy mad at you? The question caught me off guard. Why would you ask that, honey? Because she says you're being selfish. She says you're keeping all the money for your medicine, and that's why I can't have a pony. My blood ran cold. Sharon was poisoning a 6-year-old's mind. She was blaming my cancer for her own financial failures. Sherry, listen to me, I said. I turned her around so she could see my face. I love you more than anything. Your mommy is just stressed. I couldn't tell her the truth. Not yet, but I saw the seed Sharon had planted. Resentment, greed, cruelty. Sharon didn't care about Sherry's feelings. She was using her own daughter as a weapon against me. I started keeping a journal for Sherry. I wrote down everything. My recipes, my memories of Lenny when he was a boy, and I wrote down the truth about the money. I wanted her to know, if I didn't make it, that I had protected her. Grandma, why are you crying? Sherry wiped a tear from my cheek. I'm just happy to be with you, sweetie. She hugged me tight. I felt her little heart beating against mine. She was the only thing that felt real in a world of doctors and lawyers. But Sharon was watching us. I saw her through the window once. She was picking up Lenny from our driveway. She looked at us on the porch. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just stared at Sherry's long, golden hair, and then she looked at my bald head. There was a look in her eyes, calculation, jealousy. She hated that Sherry loved me. She hated that I still had something she couldn't buy. Dignity, love. I didn't know it then, but the plan was already forming in her mind. She wasn't just going to take my money. She was going to take the one thing that connected me to my granddaughter. She was going to take Sherry's princess hair. The storm was closer than I thought, and my beautiful Sherry was right in the middle of it. I wish I had seen it sooner. I wish I had locked the doors. But you never expect the devil to be family, do you? The appointment was in Miami, a 3-hour drive from Naples. The specialist wanted to check if the tumors were shrinking. I was nervous. Billy was quiet. We usually took Sherry with us, but the hospital was no place for a child. I'll watch her, Sharon offered. She said it with a smile, a helpful, sweet smile. I should have known better. I should have seen the trap. But I was tired. The chemo makes you want to believe the best in people because you don't have the energy to fight the worst. Are you sure, Sharon? I asked. Of course, Tina. We'll have a girls' weekend. It'll be fun. We dropped Sherry off on Friday morning. She was wearing her favorite pink dress. Her golden curls were tied back with a blue ribbon. I love you, Grandma, she said. She hugged my neck. I felt her hair brush against my cheek. Soft, perfect. I love you more, sweetie. I'll be back on Sunday. The weekend was a blur of white walls and needles. Good news, maybe. The doctor seemed hopeful, but I couldn't stop thinking about home. I had this feeling in my gut, a heavy, cold weight. Billy told me it was just the stress of the tests. We pulled into Lenny's driveway on Sunday evening. The sun was setting. The house looked peaceful, but when we walked inside, it was too quiet. Lenny, Sharon, Billy called out, no answer. Then I heard it, a muffled sob. It was coming from the kitchen. I ran, as fast as my weak legs could carry me. I rounded the corner and stopped dead. Sherry was sitting on a tall stool. She was shaking. Her face was red and blotchy from crying, and her hair, my beautiful Sherry, was bald. It wasn't a clean shave. It was messy, haggard. There were red nicks on the back of her neck, patches of fuzz left behind like a mangy dog. The golden curls, the princess hair, were in a pile on the floor, right next to a pair of kitchen scissors and a cheap electric razor. I couldn't breathe, the room spun. What did you do? I whispered. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Sharon stepped out from the shadows of the pantry. She was holding a glass of wine. She looked bored. Oh, calm down, Tina, it's just hair. It grows back. Billy pushed past me. He picked Sherry up and held her to his chest. She wailed, a sound of pure heartbreak. Sharon, what is wrong with you? Billy roared. Sharon set her glass down. She walked over to me. She looked at my bald head, then at Sherry's. I did it for you, Tina, she said. The malice in her voice was finally out in the open. You're always acting like such a martyr, a hero, just because you're sick. She leaned in close. I could smell the wine on her breath. I wanted to humble you. I wanted to show you that you aren't special. You used a child, I choked out. I gave her a lesson in solidarity, Sharon mocked. Now the two of you can walk around looking like freaks together. Maybe now you'll stop acting like you're the center of the universe. She looked at my crying granddaughter as if she were a piece of trash. Besides, she was getting too vain about that hair anyway, just like you used to be. I looked at the floor. The golden curls, 6 years of growth, gone, not because of a disease, not because of a choice, but because of pure, calculated, evil. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't the cancer. It wasn't the weakness. It was the part of me that protects my own. The foundation of sand was gone. I was standing on rock now. I didn't scream. I didn't hit her. I walked over to Sherry and took her from Billy's arms. I kissed her jagged little head. It's okay, my brave girl, I whispered. I looked at Sharon. I have never felt a coldness like the one I felt in that moment. You think you won, Sharon? She laughed. I think I made my point. You did, I said. You made it very clear you aren't family. I turned to Billy. Get the car. We're taking her home with us. Lenny walked in then. He saw the hair on the floor. He saw his daughter sobbing. He saw his wife smirk. He looked at me. Mom, look. Sharon said it was just a joke. She said it was a way to make Sherry feel closer to you. He was making excuses. Even now, he was choosing the monster over his own mother, over his own child. Lenny, I said, my voice was steady, hard. If you don't stand up for your daughter right now, don't ever call me again. He looked at Sharon. She crossed her arms and waited. He looked at me, and then he looked away. It's just hair, Mom, don't be so dramatic. The silence in the room was deafening. I walked out of that house with Sherry in my arms. Billy followed me. We didn't look back. As we drove away, I looked at Sherry in the rearview mirror. She was staring out the window, touching her bald head. Sharon thought she was mocking my cancer. She thought she was stripping me of my pride. She didn't realize she had just signed her own eviction notice. From my heart, from my life, and from every single cent I had ever earned. The war had started, and I was going to win. We drove home in silence. The only sound was Sherry's heavy breathing. She had finally fallen asleep in the back seat. Her small hand was still touching her bare scalp, even in her dreams. Billy's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I'm going to kill her, Tina, he whispered. His voice was thick with a rage I had never heard in 40 years. No, I said, my voice was cold like ice. Death is too easy for Sharon. She wants our life. She wants our money. She's not getting a dime. But in my heart, I was waiting. I was waiting for my phone to ring. I was waiting for Lenny. I was waiting for my son to realize what his wife had done. I wanted him to call. I wanted him to scream at her. I wanted him to tell me he was bringing Sherry's things over and leaving that woman. The phone stayed dark. An hour later, it finally buzzed. My heart leaped. Lenny, I answered. I didn't even say hello. Mom, you need to calm down. The words hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a how is Sherry? It was a command. Calm down, I asked. I stood up from the sofa. Lenny, she shaved your daughter's head. To mock my cancer, she cut her skin, Lenny. She's traumatized. I heard a sigh on the other end, a tired, annoyed sigh. Sharon told me everything, Mom. She was just trying to help Sherry cope with your illness. She thought it would be a bonding experience. I couldn't believe my ears. A bonding experience with kitchen scissors, in the dark? You're overreacting, Lenny snapped. Sharon says the chemo is making you paranoid. You're always looking for reasons to hate her. I felt a wave of nausea, not from the drugs, from the betrayal. Lenny, look at your daughter. Look at her face. I am looking at her, Mom. She's fine. It's hair. It'll grow back in a month. But the way you're acting, that's permanent. Then he said the words that broke me. Sharon thinks you're becoming unstable. Maybe the meds are messing with your head. She thinks we should look into temporary guardianship of your finances until you're yourself again. I sat back down. The room felt like it was shrinking. My own son was using my sickness against me. He wasn't just defending Sharon. He was joining her. They weren't just after the inheritance anymore. They were coming for my autonomy, my freedom. Lenny, I said, my voice was a whisper. Do you love her more than you love me? More than you love your own child? Don't do that, Mom. Don't make this a choice. The choice was made when she picked up those scissors, I said. And you're making yours right now. Whatever, he said. I could hear Sharon whispering in the background, coaching him, pulling the strings. Just bring Sherry back tomorrow morning. Sharon has a hair appointment for her to fix the jagged parts. I looked at the bedroom door where Sherry was sleeping. I looked at Billy. He was watching me. He saw the look on my face. She's not going back, Lenny. Excuse me? She stays here. If you want her, you can come get her. But Sharon doesn't touch her again. Not ever. You're kidnapping my daughter, Mom. Is that where we are? I'm protecting her. Since her father won't. Lenny hung up. The dial tone hummed in my ear. It sounded like the end of a long, long story. I looked at my reflection in the dark window. Bald, pale, sick. I looked like a victim. Sharon saw a victim. Lenny saw a bank account. But they forgot one thing. I am a mother and a grandmother. And I have lived 65 years in this country. I know how the world works. I know that family is a word used by people who want to steal from you without getting arrested. I walked over to my desk. I opened my laptop. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Billy? He looked up. Call our accountant. Tell him to freeze the joint credit cards Lenny has access to. Billy nodded. And Billy? Yeah, Tina? Find that business card for the lawyer we met after the diagnosis, the one who specializes in elder law. The low point was over. The sadness was gone. Only the mission remained. I realized I was alone in this fight. Lenny wasn't my golden boy anymore. He was just a stranger who shared my DNA. And Sharon? Sharon was about to learn a very expensive lesson. You don't mess with a woman's grandchild. And you definitely don't mess with her dignity. I went into the guest room and watched Sherry sleep. I touched her little buzzed head. I've got you, baby, I whispered. Grandma's going to fix everything. Tomorrow, the paperwork begins. Tomorrow, the money stops. Tomorrow, they find out what happens when you push a survivor too far. Monday morning. The sun was bright in Naples, but I felt like I was in a cold war. I didn't cry when I woke up. I didn't look at my bald head and feel sorry for myself. I put on my best silk scarf. I put on my lipstick. Billy, watch Sherry, I said. I'm going to see Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson has been our estate attorney for 20 years. He's a man who speaks in facts, not feelings. I sat in his wood-paneled office. The air conditioner hummed. I told him everything about the cancer, about the scissors, about Sharon's help with my files. He didn't look surprised. Tina, he said softly, this happens more than you think. It's called elder financial abuse. He pulled up my living trust on his computer. A living trust is like a bucket, Tina. You put your house, your savings, your life in it. You control the bucket while you're alive. But when you're sick, someone else might try to grab the handle. He started digging into my accounts, the ones Sharon had been managing while I was in chemo. His face went pale. Tina, look at this. He turned the screen toward me. I saw rows of numbers, red numbers. Sharon has been using the power of attorney you signed last year, he explained. She told the bank she was paying your medical bills. But look at these withdrawals. $4,000 at a high-end furniture store, $2,000 at a boutique in Miami, $1,200 for landscaping at a house I didn't own. Her house, she wasn't just waiting for me to die. She was looting the house while I was still inside it. Is this legal? I whispered. No, Mr. Henderson said. It's a breach of fiduciary duty. She's stealing from her own mother-in-law. My heart felt like a lead weight. My son's wife was a thief. And my son, he had to know. He had to see the new sofa, the new clothes. What can we do? Mr. Henderson leaned back. First, we revoke the power of attorney, right now, today. Second, we change the trust. We remove Lenny as the successor trustee. In Florida, if you don't have a solid trust, your estate goes to probate. Probate is a nightmare, Tina. It's public, it's expensive, and Sharon would fight for every penny in court. But with a trust, we can lock the door and throw away the key. I felt a surge of power, real power, the kind Sharon didn't think a sick old woman could have. Do it, I said. Take them both out, completely. What about Sherry? He asked. I thought about her jagged hair. I thought about her princess dreams. Create an educational trust for my granddaughter, I told him. It only pays for her school, her housing, her future, and make it so her parents can never, ever touch a cent of it. Not for a car, not for a sofa, not for a vacation. Mr. Henderson nodded. His fingers flew across the keyboard. I spent 4 hours in that office. We looked at every bank statement. We found over $30,000 missing. 30,000. That was my chemotherapy money. That was my security. Sharon didn't just want to humble me. She wanted to drain me dry so I couldn't afford to fight the cancer. She wanted me gone. I walked out of that office with a thick envelope, legal papers. The paper trail was complete. I felt lighter than I had in months. The cancer was in my body, but Sharon was no longer in my pockets. I drove home and found Billy and Sherry in the garden. Billy had bought her a little silk hat, soft, pink, with a flower on the side. She looked beautiful. She ran to me and hugged my knees. "Grandma, are you better now?" "I'm getting there, baby," I said. I looked at the envelope in my hand. "I'm getting there. Tonight I would call Lenny and Sharon. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't cry. I would just read them the new reality. They thought I was a victim. They thought I was weak. But they forgot one thing about women of my generation. We know how to survive. And we know how to protect what's ours." The solidarity Sharon wanted, she was about to get it. She was about to be just as broke as she tried to make me. I invited them over for dinner. Lenny sounded relieved on the phone. He thought I was surrendering. He thought the hormonal, old woman had finally come to her senses. Sharon arrived wearing a new designer handbag. I recognized the brand from the bank statements. $1,200, my money, hanging off her arm while I sat there in my chemotherapy turban. They sat at my dining room table, the same table where Lenny used to do his homework, the same table where we celebrated his graduations. Billy sat at the head. He didn't eat, he just watched them. "Where's Sherry?" Sharon asked. She didn't look concerned, she just wanted her property back. "She's in the garden with the neighbor," I said. "We have business to discuss first." I didn't serve food, I served an envelope. I slid it across the mahogany wood. "What's this, Mom?" Lenny asked. "A peace offering?" "Open it," I said. My voice was a flat line. No anger, no tears, just the truth. Lenny pulled out the bank statements first. The yellow highlighter marks screamed off the page. Furniture, handbags, landscaping. Sharon's face went from smug to ghostly white. "Tina, I can explain?" "No," I said. "I'll explain. You used your power of attorney to steal $32,000 from my medical fund. You bought a sofa while I was nauseous from radiation. You bought a bag while I was losing my hair." Lenny looked at the papers. He looked at Sharon. "Sharon, is this true?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The paper trail doesn't lie. "That was Mom's cancer money, Sharon," Lenny whispered. He actually looked shocked, but I didn't care about his shock. It was too late for that. "There's more," I said. I pointed to the second set of papers, the trust documents. "As of 4 o'clock today, you are both removed from our will. The house, it's in a locked trust. The savings. Protected." Sharon found her voice then. It was sharp, ugly. "You can't do that. Lenny is your only son. You're sick. Tina, this won't hold up in court." "It will," Billy interjected. His voice was like a hammer hitting a nail. "We have the police report for the theft ready to file. Unless you sign the next page." Sharon's eyes darted to the last document. "It's a voluntary relinquishment of guardianship," I explained. "You sign over physical custody of Sherry to Billy and me. And you move out of that house Lenny can't afford." "You're blackmailing us?" Lenny gasped. "No, Lenny," I said. "I'm negotiating. You can go to prison for elder abuse and grand theft, or you can walk away with your freedom but without my money." The silence in the room was heavy. I watched Sharon. I saw the gears turning. She didn't care about Lenny. She didn't care about Sherry. She was calculating the cost of a defense attorney. She grabbed the pen. She signed it so hard the paper almost tore. "Fine," she hissed. "Keep the kid. She's a brat anyway." Just like her grandmother. Lenny sat there, broken. He looked at the woman he chose over his mother. He saw her for exactly what she was, a parasite who had just sold her daughter for a get-out-of-jail-free card. "Lenny," I said. I reached out, but I didn't touch him. "I loved you with everything I had. But you let her cut that baby's hair. You let her mock my life. The golden sun is dead to me." I stood up. I felt taller than I had in years. Even without my hair, even with the cancer. "Get out of my house." They left. No hugs, no goodbyes, just the sound of Sharon's heels clicking on the tile, and the roar of their engine as they drove out of our lives. Billy put his arm around me. I leaned into him. "Is it over?" he asked. "The war is over," I said. "Now we just have to be a family." I walked out to the garden. Sherry was sitting in the grass. She was wearing her pink hat. She looked up and smiled. "Grandma, look, I found a ladybug." I sat down in the dirt with her. I didn't care about my silk scarf. I didn't care about the chemo. I just held her. She was safe. Her future was signed, sealed, and delivered. Sharon thought she was mocking a victim. She didn't realize she was provoking a grandmother. That's the biggest mistake you can ever make. I looked in the mirror today and I didn't see a victim. I saw a survivor. My hair is coming back, soft, gray, strong. And beside me, my granddaughter, Sherry. Her golden curls are returning too. They're shorter now, but they're hers. Sharon tried to use a pair of scissors to break our spirit. She thought she could mock my cancer and walk away with my life's work. She was wrong. She lost her daughter. She lost her inheritance. And she lost her dignity. I'm Tina Page. And if there is one thing I've learned in this fight, it's that a grandmother's love is more powerful than any disease, and more dangerous than any enemy. Stick around, because I have a message for every woman watching this who thinks she's too old to fight back. You aren't. 6 months have passed since that dinner. 6 months of healing. The doctor called last Tuesday. "Remission," he said. I didn't cry this time. I just looked at Billy and smiled. We walked out of that clinic in Naples and went straight to the park. Sherry was waiting for us. She's living with us full-time now. "Lenny," he calls sometimes, usually when he's been drinking. Usually when he realizes Sharon has spent the last of their savings. I don't pick up. I sent him a letter through Mr. Henderson. "When you're ready to be a father, truly a father, we can talk. Until then, stay away. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But being a mother means protecting your child, even when that child is the one hurting you. Today was a big day. We went to the salon. A real salon, not a kitchen stool with a cheap razor. I sat in the big leather chair. Sherry sat in the one next to me. The stylist was a kind woman named Maria. She knew our story. She handled Sherry's hair like it was made of glass. "Just a trim, Maria," I said. "We're letting the warrior crowns grow out." Sherry looked at herself in the mirror. She touched her hair. It's about 3 inches long now. A beautiful honey blonde pixie cut. She looked like a little angel. "Grandma, we're twins again," she giggled. But the good kind. My heart felt full. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't looking over my shoulder for Sharon's next move. I want to talk to you now, the women watching this. Maybe you're facing a diagnosis. Maybe you have a Sharon in your family, someone who looks at your age and sees a target. Listen to me. Do not wait for them to change. They won't. Get your papers in order. Look into a living trust. Protect your home. We work too hard to let predators take our peace in the final chapters of our lives. Financial abuse is quiet. It's a help with the bills. It's a let me see your password. It's a you're just being paranoid. Trust your gut. If it feels like they're circling, they are. I'm 65 years old. I've had cancer. I've been betrayed by my only son. But I am sitting on my porch tonight watching the sunset. I have my husband. I have my granddaughter. And I have my self-respect. That is the real inheritance. Not the money, the strength to say no, the strength to cut off the rot so the rest of the tree can live. Sherry came out to the porch just now. She's wearing her little silk hat. But she took it off. She threw it into the wind. "I don't need it anymore, Grandma," she said. "I like my new crown." I took mine off too. We sat there in the Florida heat. 2 bald, beautiful, resilient women. We are Tina and Sherry. We are survivors. And we are just getting started. If you found strength in this story, please share it. Someone out there needs to know they aren't alone. Someone needs to know it's okay to walk away. God bless you. Then keep your crown high.